SOTC 52. Every week we say the same thing because I want to make mention of this devotions book that we have. It's every week, it's not every day, and it was written to encourage guys. It's written to encourage people who are actively trying to serve God. And you know what, you're going to get off track, man. Everybody gets off track. Everybody does. All the disciples in the Bible, I mean, everybody, just read it. So, you know, you're going to get off track too. Don't get too bummed out about that. It happens. But one of the reasons we wrote this devotion was so that when you do get off track, maybe it can help steer you back on track. So there's just different ways of looking at things. And hopefully this week's devotion, there's somebody who will take a look at what's being said and change your perspective and maybe help you out to get you back on track. Or which would even be better is if you're on track, to keep you on track, right? So this chapter is called Enthused. And you wouldn't think that whether you're enthusiastic about something or not would make any difference. Like a lot of people just think, well, you know, the bottom line is whatever you end up actually doing, whether you're enthused about it or not, doesn't make any difference. But I don't think that's true. And I don't think the Bible bears that out. It's like, you know, it's like a dad who's got maybe 3 or 4 kids, and he comes in and he says, hey kids, you know, you want to go downtown and get some ice cream? And 3 of the kids go, yeah, ice cream. They get up and they run out toward the truck, and then the one kid goes, oh, I guess so. And, you know, he's not very much fun to be with. He's got some problems whatsoever. And even though there's something good that's coming, he's not enthused about it. So which kid does the dad like being around the most? The kid that's all bummed out all the time, or the kids that are enthused, right? And I think that the Lord in heaven looks down many times and he wants to see who's enthused about what, because when you're enthused, it shows what you believe in. It's like the coach that comes out and maybe the game's on the line and he's looking, one of the guys gets hurt and he's got two guys that can fill a position. And one guy's sitting there going, put me in, coach, I'll kill them all. Put me in, coach. And he's all enthused and jacked up about winning the game, and the other guy's over hiding behind the bench. Well, one guy's enthused, one guy's not. Which guy's he going to put in there? See, that's kind of how it is with the Lord, because if you're enthused, what it means you believe in what you're enthused about. So if you're not enthused, how do you get enthused? Good question. You can only get enthused by experience and knowledge. That guy that can't wait to get in there to make a difference in the football game has faith in his ability to go in and get something done because he's been there before. The other guy has no faith in his ability. He thinks he's going to get blown out off the field and he doesn't want to look like an idiot, and he's the one that's hiding. So if you're not enthused, maybe it's because you don't have any experience. So now you take, just let me give you a biblical perspective. This guy Jehoash, he was a king in the Bible, and Elisha came up to him and said, here's some arrows, man. And God says he's going to take care of all your enemies. Take those arrows and shoot them down into the ground. Joash says, well, okay. And he shoots 3 of them. Well, apparently there was more than 3. And then the prophet looked at him and says, oh man, you really screwed up. Because if you would have shot all those arrows, pounded all those arrows down into the ground, then you would never have another problem with any of your enemies. But because you only did 3, like he's that kid that says, well, I guess we'll go eat some ice cream. Because you only did 3, then I'm only going to give you a limited victory. Because see, being enthused meant it went to what he believed in. So it doesn't really matter what you say. When you're not enthused about something, it kind of shows God that you don't even really believe what it is that you're doing, right? To give you another example, God gives opportunities for people to get enthused. There was a widow at Zarephath who had just a little bit of food for her and her son. They were going to die. And the prophet Elijah came to the widow and said, hey man, make me a cake. And she wasn't very enthused. She said, nah, I only got enough for me and my son. We're going to eat this little bit of food here, and then we're going to check out. We're going to die. So Elijah said, well, that's all right. Why don't you go ahead and make me that cake anyway? So she said, well, okay, she did. So then for the remainder of the whole drought, for years, she never ran out of food. She always had plenty of oil and she always had plenty of flour. So she was pretty enthused at that point. Every time she went into her pantry and looked and there's a big pile of flour in there, she got pretty enthused by what God had done. But God gave her the opportunity to get enthused about what he wanted her to do, to partake and to supply Elijah's need and be part of what God was doing on the earth. Then there's another instance where there was a king named Ahaz, right? And the prophet went to Ahaz and said, hey, listen, I know you're getting ready to pay the armies of Assyria or wherever it was to protect you, but instead of giving them the gold, God says, trust me. So see, this king wasn't very enthused. He's kind of looking at the prophet going, yeah, well, I don't know about that. But then here's what the prophet said. He said, look, man, He said, God said he told me to tell you to ask him for a sign and make it as hard as you want. In other words, he could say, I want all the cows on the earth to fly for an hour. He could have said anything. Ask me for a sign. Make it as hard as you want and I'll do it. Because why? Because God wanted this King Ahaz to get enthused about what he was doing. He wanted him to be enthused about who God was. He wanted to build his faith up so that he would be excited about what God was doing and not depressed about having to pay for an army. So he was given an opportunity to get enthused about the gospel, to get enthused about what it is God's doing on the earth, to get enthused about serving the Creator. He was given an opportunity to get enthused. And what did he say? He said, well, no, man, because I wouldn't tempt the Lord your God that way. Sounds really religious. I think probably 90% of the people in church today would probably say the same thing. Don't tempt the Lord. That's one of the best excuses that Christians that do nothing use. Oh, I don't want to tempt the Lord. Hey, God wanted him to ask for this super hard sign so that he could get enthused in his faith and get jacked up and that he would be able to use this king. Now check this out. This King Ahaz was offering his children to the god Moloch. He sacrificed his own kids to the god of Moloch. And yet God still wanted to lift him up and give him faith and get him enthused about being used by the Lord. Even though he had sacrificed his own kids, how much more would God want to do something for you when you love him and you serve him and you're trying your best to walk the walk that he's got before you? How much more does he want for you to be enthused? And how much more is he willing to show you signs and wonders to have you enthused? See, because when you're enthused, it shows God that you have faith, that you believe in him and what he's going to do for you. So this chapter is titled Enthused. And if you take a good look at it, you're going to understand that when you really believe in something, you are enthusiastic about it. You can't help but be enthusiastic about something that you want to do that you know is a good thing that God is using you. And if you're not enthused, it's only because you don't have any experience yet to draw from. And if you pray and ask the Holy Spirit today, hey, I want to be able to be excited about what you're doing, but things haven't been going right lately. God, would you help me? Would you show me some signs? Would you bring me into that camp where the people are enthused and excited about what they're doing? Because I want that to be a part of what's in my heart, not just what's in my mouth with the words that I speak. So that's what this chapter is, Enthused. Yeah.